So I was in a abusive, controlling, violent relationship for 18 years, from the age of 21 till 39. I think that's right. I think, working it out. And I was with a guy that, was, when I met him, he was lovely, quite charming, and within a couple of months, obviously I could see he was a little bit jealous of stuff, but being 21 and I was a single mum as well, didn't take much notice of it, to be honest with you. And then before I knew it, then I was in it over my head. And it's easy to look back now and to see the red flags, but at the time, being so young as well, not having much life experience and certainly not knowing anything about coercive control or domestic abuse. So for 18 years, I was in that relationship. I had a child with Darren, who was my perpetrator, Jack, and that happened all pretty quickly. And again, looking back in hindsight, the red flags were there. He encouraged me to have a baby and everything else. And in the end, after the years of being spat, he used to spit in my face, grab my face, ram his head into my head. Besides the violence and the attacks, like the slide punches to the back of the head, the hair pulling, I was really heavily coercively controlled, but yet I didn't recognize it as coercion because that was my normal relationship. It became my normal relationship over a period of time. For instance, I was a hairdresser, but yet I wasn't allowed to cut a man's hair. And I forgot they used to make regular appearances to the salon and check my appointment book to see who I had in my column for that day. And that was something that I can honestly say that I did forget all about. And it was only the fact that my old employer brought it up and wrote a letter. And I actually shared that with the media to show why that ripple effect is when somebody is in that relationship. Sometimes it's not just contained to the household, it can spill out and affect everybody else as well. And then I ended up leaving him because I can remember going on holiday with him one time and he threw sand in my face, and I just thought, I was 39, do I really want to be still here in this position when I'm 49? And I decided on holiday, I've got to get out of this. And I think for me, the fear of staying with him became greater than the fear of leaving him. And that was after he'd strangled me on the morning of 9th of July, and he slit his wrist in front of my youngest son, Jack. And then, like I said, it was then I thought, if he's capable of doing this, what else is he capable of doing? So I did, in fact, leave. And for 6 weeks, he stalked and harassed me. He was bombarding me with texts and calls. I went to the police in the end. I didn't want to give a statement, and you find that many victims don't want to give a statement. They just want to be left alone. But working in this arena now, when you're dealing with a perpetrator, you're not dealing with a decent member of society. You are dealing with somebody who's got serious issues, and they're not just going to walk away. They want to get that element of control back, and that is exactly what he was doing. And thankfully, I sort of didn't fall back into it, and I just ploughed on like a steam train. I went to the solicitors, I filed for divorce, I gave the police a long historical statement, and they arrested him, charged him with common assault for the strangulation, hence why I fought so much to get non-fatal strangulation as a specific crime. And then they charged him. He was due in court, and on the 19th of August 2011, he came to my place of work armed with a sawn-off shotgun with the intent to kill me, because Darren always used to say there was only one way out for me, and that would have been in a wooden box. He used to write in cards, we'll be together in this life and the next, real dark, sinister cards. There was a battle in the salon. I did run towards him. I don't know why, and started fighting with him to try and get the gun off him. Not that I was much of a match, because he was 6'7" and 22 stone. He was a bodybuilder with a 60-inch chest. But I think it probably did put him on the back foot a little bit. And I know after living with him for 18 years, he wasn't going to be intending on going to prison. He wasn't going to get caught for this murder, which in his eyes, he was coming in to kill me. And I know that, he was only going to be there sort of like for a limited time. And I think it probably did put him on a back foot. He shot me twice, once in the leg, and thankfully I had pulled my knees up under my chin in a fetal position on the floor after he hit me with the butt of the gun. So I was, you know, I had the presence of mind to do that. So the left leg took the first shot and the second shot skimmed past my ear. He then put the gun down and I believe to reload, and I managed to grab the gun, and there was a hefty battle in the shop because I had a watch on that day, and the face of the watch was frosted in every direction, so I know that there was a hefty battle because I never lost consciousness as well. And then the next thing then I can remember being booted under the chin. He stamped all over my head, rained me with punches and blows, and then the next thing he was gone. And then I was rushed to hospital. They managed to save my leg because initially they wanted to take my leg off above the knee, and I told them no, you've got to try to save it, which they did. And then I was told that evening that they'd found Darren and he'd actually hung himself, which was a massive relief to me, because I know had he not hung himself, then I would have had to have gone into witness protection because he would never have let me go. And then I was in hospital for 6 weeks recovering from the gunshot injuries. I had black eyes for 6 weeks. I had a lump on my head, and I can remember a police officer making a comment that he'd never seen a lump like that in 25 years of service. And then I came out of hospital on the 23rd of September, and sadly my 16-year-old son committed suicide on the Monday the 26th of September. So I do what I do because of what happened to us as a family.
Absolutely devastating. And I remember reading the news on the day that you were shot. I was on the news desk and hearing that there was a police cordon in Newport, there'd been a shooting, and in the days that followed, the results of that, we were told what had happened to you.
Yeah.
For you to go from being this very private person dealing with this trauma to a public figure, what was that like?
Well, I can remember being sent the IPCC report, as it was known then, and my serious case review, and it was the following summer, 2012, and I was sat in the garden, obviously still recovering from my injuries, because I had to have, I got a big steel rod, titanium rod in my leg with a limited bend. So I was sort of getting, recovering from that, recovering as best you can, and sort of getting up, thinking that you've lost a child. And I can remember reading the report and thinking, oh my goodness, I cannot allow this to happen to another family. I got to do what I can. And I sort of since then started with a Facebook page, sharing my story, and then other people started sharing their story. And then it's just literally just snowballed. I got campaigns out there, got petitions. I was blessed to be able to be a cog in the wheel to get non-fatal strangulation a standalone offence. That was one of my petitions with over 100,000 signatures on, and that is coming into force next year. I've written a book which was released by Penguin, and one of the patrons of my Stand Up to Domestic Abuse community interest company is Michael Sheen, and he actually wrote the foreword for my book. So I released the book, and I just help those that need help, guidance. I'm a qualified IDFA now, what the police use, and I suppose I'm a little bit of a critical friend for the police.
Now, police and crime commissioners have come together to carry out this survey, and you're heavily involved with them, as you mentioned there. You're doing special sessions, helping, training officers, those in the field now, to spot the signs, be aware and be more vigilant, especially in light of current cases which have made the headlines more recently with the Plymouth shooting and, of course, Sarah Everard. Yeah,
I think for me, there's so many guns out there and so many guns in hands of perpetrators, and not necessarily perpetrators with a history of domestic abuse, but an allegation. And I think it's really worrying. I've had a couple of victims and survivors come to me to say that their exes have got a gun, and that threat alone keeps them doing what that perpetrator wants them to do, even though they're not together. It's that initial threat all the time. And I can't understand why somebody would want a gun anyway. If a farmer needs a gun, we've got pest control, but if a farmer needs a gun, then so be it. But then on the one side I can say that, but then I've got a friend called Georgia Hooper who witnessed her mum get killed 3 years ago. She was age 14 at the time, and her stepdad was a farmer, and he had a gun, a sawn-off shotgun, and he killed her mum because her mum had left him. You know, and I think, you know, with a gun is so quick to take somebody's life. And you know, and the gun that was used in my attack was stolen. You know, and there's so many guns out there in the hands of netters, basically.